Pretty disturbing stuff today, and I guess in this day and age when we've always talked about 1984 and George Orwell's vision of the future and the threat and the menace of Big Brother, we've always thought, well, it'll never come to pass. But the news that's emerging today by a great reporter called Noel Towell out of the Sydney Morning Herald is that the federal government are increasingly monitoring the use of Facebook, Pinterest, a whole bunch of social media sites, including Twitter, by millions of Australians. They call it just taking the pulse or the temperature of the community out there. But there's been a couple of disturbing developments. One, not least, one woman activist who'd said a few things about government policy on a Facebook page. Well, she suddenly had the Department of Immigration sending her messages on Twitter saying to cease and resist. Now, if that's not exactly taking the temperature of society, that's full-on monitoring. And in an age in this country when we are finding it increasingly more expensive and difficult to access the sort of information that we as citizens should be privy to, and I'm talking about the Freedom of Information Act, it's very hard for, let alone media companies with money at their hand, who can go out there and afford to run long campaigns trying to extract information from government, let alone private citizens who are just seeking access to their own information. Now, you've got that happening at one end of the spectrum where it's becoming harder and harder to find out what's going on, and at the other end we've got the federal government and its agencies like the Department of Immigration and Welfare, all of them seeking information about us from our private pages. So something has to break. And we have to stand up, because no one else is going to stand up for our rights in this country. Because what's happened slowly over the last 20 or 30 years with the rise of new technology, the rise of information, and information is key here, we're seeing government agencies now becoming far more secretive than they ever have before. In a day and age when information is available to all. And if you go back a few years, even a generation ago, 20 years ago, look at a young kid who was doing his homework, and if you had to go and find 2 or 3 bits of information, maybe you had to find out the price of a stock at the share market in Tokyo, the name of the US president's dog, for instance, he would have to spend maybe a day or two looking up encyclopedias, getting the librarian to help him out, faxing off somewhere to the other side of the world to get that info. These days, it's one click or it's one swipe. So what's happened is that facts have become commoditised. They're no longer as expensive or worthwhile as they were. But private facts and key information are what everyone is really after. They're after data. And it seems a really sad reflection on where we've gone in society over the last 30 years, that the federal government now knows more about what we're doing than what we know about what they're doing.